morning, welcome back to my channel, and we're here in Australia. Good morning, we're here in Adelaide, and today we're gonna go to wine tour. As you could see outside, large barrels, and by the way, it's Yalumba Winery. I'll see you around.
Onto the really relaxing wines, especially in Australian waters, really relaxed with these lifestyle reds, hence the Grenache that will be on board, and it's a really simple sell, we think, for you and the team. So, so is it the head sommelier?
Okay guys, come on in. Alright, officially welcome to Yalumba. So today you are in the home of Australia's most historic family-owned winery. We are proudly 170 years of age, and we've just had our birthday, and we are now 6 generations. Okay? So we were started by an Englishman, alright, from southwest England in Dorset, called Samuel Smith. Now, Samuel came across here in 1847 with his wife and 3 young children. They made their way up here to the Barossa. They arrived on a ship called the China. They landed in Port Adelaide, came up to the Barossa, which had already been established by then by 2 prominent families, the Shillings and also the Angus family, hence the name of our village, Anguston. Now, Samuel was actually a horticulturalist by trade, so he started his journey here by making amazing landscape gardens up the road for a famous homestead here. Then the gold rush was very male reduced, because all the men went across there to try their luck with gold. And after 16 attempts at going down all the mine shafts, he eventually struck gold, and he found himself £300 worth, which was a fortune back then. So he came home back to Mary and the children. He purchased 80 acres of land, and he planted our first vines by moonlight with a candle on the end of his wheelbarrow. And Yalumba was born. And Yalumba translates from an ancient Aboriginal word into all the land around. And every member of the family who has been at the helm or as a managing director has purchased more and more acreage as they've come into their turn. Okay, so today we are owned 100% by 2 brothers, Robert and Sam Hill-Smith. And here we are in one of my favourite parts of the winery, which is our cooperage, where we make our own barrels, and proudly we are the only working winery in the whole southern hemisphere to have its own working cooperage on site. There are only 6 in the world, majority of which. So, what do we do in here? As you can see, we make barrels. Now, we have 2 coopers, that's all, and they produce around 400 barrels a year, which is about a third of our use. Okay, the other 2/3 either come in ready-made from France at quite a cost, or they come from the cooperage, dedicated cooperage in the village next door. They are also 6-generational family-owned business. So, where do we source our oak? We source Quercus alba. That's the variety of oak tree that we use. Comes from North America, France, and Hungary. So the trees that we use for our barrels, they tend to be in the region of about 120 to 130 years of age before they are felled on the forest floor. So once they're cut and they lay on the floor, they're left there in their entirety for about 6 months. So this is going to start the very slow, gradual process of releasing the tannins from the bark. After 6 months, they go to the workshop. We only take up the first main arterial branch. They cut them into whatever length of barrels we're going to use, and they stick them back outside again for another 10 to 12 years to continue the seasoning in everything that Mother Nature hurls at it. After that, back to the workshop, off comes the bark, and they cut out these sticks, which we call staves. All right, so one barrel has between 34 38 staves roughly per barrel. Do come over, come over. So when the staves arrive here in Australia, obviously we're very cautious, it has to go through quarantine up in Sydney. It arrives down here in a giant shrink-wrapped pallet, looking like a giant game of Jenga. So then the boys start their magic, okay? So they'll have a pile of staves up here along the wall. Okay, with a hammer and by hand, he hammers on a couple more wider hoops, so the barrel is actually standing up on its own. But at the moment, the wood is cold and it's hard, and we cannot do anything else with it. So now we've got chopped up staves. We use it as our kindling. Now we want a nice, low, slow burn here. We don't want to char the inside of the barrel. It's not for whiskey, it's for our rare and fine wines. So toasting, why do we toast a barrel? Well, there are many reasons, three of which. Number one, that heat will help draw out any natural sugars that have been left behind in the oak, which we don't want going into our wines. You've probably already worked out in your heads that this is not a particularly cheap process. It's very labour intensive. One barrel takes between 7 and 8 man-hours to make from scratch. Another reason is that the heat will actually help draw that finite closure that we're looking for, because there is no glue involved in any of this process. It's all pressure. And number three is we can now exert an influence into the oak, which is going to go into our wine to introduce complexities and textures. Okay, so the beauty of the winemakers here at Yalumba, we have about 10 winemakers. They will come down and speak to our coopers in, say, December, January, and have a chat and say, last year's Eden Valley Viognier had light toasting. This year, we wanted to have light medium toasting, so they just need to up it a little bit. Everybody else in the country has to order their barrels ready-made in advance, about 12 months away. So what they get is what they're given, and they can't change it once it's arrived. So we have a very hands-on, bespoke management of our barrels, okay? This is going to take around an hour and a half. So we'll roughly have half an hour in each position, at the bottom, in the middle, and at the top. Beautiful smell in here. Now the boys have actually finished making barrels for this particular vintage. We're right in the middle of vintage now, so there's lots of heavy trucks and tractors all over the valley. Bearing in mind, they normally start this process in December. Here in the Barossa, we tend to get a good 10-day stint of 45 degrees plus. So you can imagine what it's like in here. We've got the hot pot going over there, the fires all going here, machinery over there, little ceiling fans that circulate hot air, but these two coopers will always stop and smile and answer your questions. So we are very lucky. All right, so once the toasting is finished, they'll move them over here. Doesn't matter if the wood has now gone cold again, that's all good. Then we start the mechanical process. So first piece of machinery is called a crozier, okay? So these two ends come apart, the barrel is hoisted in there in the middle, the blades come out from within here, and they just carve a little ridge at the top and the bottom of the barrel, about an inch down, and that's eventually where the lids and the bases will be inserted later, okay? Then, two pieces of equipment left. Over there, we have a giant sanding belt. So the barrels go on, they spin around really fast, the sanding belt comes down, it just removes a very finite amount of this friend for about 8-9 years now. So what happens is, they'll put the barrel underneath those arms. The arms all come down evenly and they push off, their downward pressure pushes off the old truss hoops that we've got. Then
okay, we're here inside Cooper, and this is where they will make barrels.
1.5. We're the biggest, I think, in Australia.
Wine tasting, and this is the favorite wine of Yalumba.
We're looking at
And it's a Cabernet Shiraz.
Lost me now. What's the next tequila?
Those are the wines we tasted earlier.
So we're looking at concepts in growing agave and growing berries.
Cheers!
Well, maybe Queensland.
Guys, nandito kami sa Australia, to be exact, in Adelaide, and we're here inside Yalumba Winery, and going inside we could see barrels. As you could see, there's a lots of things inside, I mean outside. Vintage 1985.